This is part 2, and we're talking about traditions today, and I've got the whole Ray family here on this episode of Brett Ray's Tuesday Tiny Tips. All right, I'm excited about today. Today's a family tip. It's about traditions. This is part 2, and I interviewed my entire family over the phone today, asked them questions about traditions. I caught up with Steven in Orlando, Florida, and asked him the question, what is one of your favorite traditions from your childhood?
I think, oddly enough, one of my favorite traditions that we had was some of the music that we had attached to traveling to specific places. So for traveling to this one camp in North Carolina, Camp Leuhrkrest, there was the soundtracks of Phenomenon, a movie. The movie is just okay, but the soundtrack is really good. And so anytime I hear that soundtrack, I'm reminded of those summers, hearing the gospel and being in the mountains. It brings me right back. Also, oddly enough, we'd always listen to Elton John driving in the summer. So a lot of times when I hear those songs now, it brings me back to those summer vacations, driving around the country and doing ministry. A lot of my favorite memories of traditions are on the road and listening to great songs as a family and singing along and having fun.
I caught up with Joshua in his apartment in Michigan's capital, Lansing, and this is what he had to say.
What comes to mind initially is taking the everyday ordinary and turning it into something extraordinary, turning music into a tradition. Like if we were on a certain road, you would play a certain soundtrack. If it was a certain season, there'd be different musics playing. That was a tradition, and it was something to look forward to. And it was something to like announce the change of something. Like a certain day, every Sunday was Van Morrison. That was a tradition. And that came with the tradition of like waffles in the morning. So it's like when I think of our traditions, I just think of things going from being just like an everyday thing to something that's anticipated, something that's like extraordinary.
To this day, when I hear Van Morrison's Greatest Hits Volume 1, I can smell maple syrup.
Yeah, it makes me feel that way too. And I think of Sunday,
Yeah.
I think of it being a special day.
So can you pick a favorite, or is there some that are at the top of your list?
Now in my life, my favorite is our vacation time. When we go on vacation in the spring is usually my favorite tradition, just because it's a chance to see all of us, Growing up, though, I have to say Papa Time was probably my favorite tradition.
Mom and I had a lot of fun just making stuff up. We would just make stuff up, and some of it was terrible, and we never went back to it, and some of it stuck and was like, oh, I remember, Pizza Wars was a riot. We just made that up,
right.
And we did it every
weekly
Friday.
Tradition. Papa Time, weekly tradition.
It was at least a half hour once a week of uninterrupted time between just me and you, or me and Steven, me and Andrew, me and Kelly, me and Maria. It was good.
Yeah, it was always fun. And then sometimes you'd surprise us, and it would be an extraordinary one. And Papa Time would turn into something nutty and just like blow our minds. Like most weeks, it was just like, we're going to the store, like it's you and me. But then like you just didn't know what to expect. Sometimes like Papa Time would be cover up for something you'd been planning or a surprise.
Most of the times it was a trip to the local store, pick out a candy bar or a pop at the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were occasional times where I knew I was going on a business trip and I got to take one of you guys with me, and I ended up calling it Papa Time, and it turned out that we went to an airport and got on an airplane and went somewhere. So that was fun.
Right.
I caught my wife Carol all the way on the other side of the house, and when I tracked her down, this is what she had to say about our traditions.
I would have to say that our spring family vacation is probably one of my favorites. I think it was, the location was good because Cedar Point is fun for everyone at every age. The kids always had fun, and we had fun, and a lot of times doing the same things over and over again every year. I think that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think when you just said doing things together, it made me think of the quote from Walt Disney when he started Disney World, because he was sitting on a park bench watching his girls at a park, but it wasn't adult friendly. The adults all sat on the benches watching their kids And Cedar Point was a great amusement park, even from the time when they were like 4 and 5 years old, for us to be able to do things with them. What was your favorite ride?
Well, definitely everybody in our family knows that my favorite ride is the jacuzzi ride at the hotel, for sure.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I do like the other rides, though, and I definitely rode all the roller coasters and all of that kind of thing, but the jacuzzi ride is the best.
One of our favorite traditions for sure as a family has been our New Year's Eve party. And what we do at New Year's Eve is we watch our slideshow from that year. I will take all of our favorite family pictures from that year and put it to one song. And I've done this for the 30 years that we've been a family. So we get together, we eat appetizers, we have a great time, and we sit down and watch our slideshows, and we watch our family grow up over the years. So each slideshow is one song, and so just the songs bring back all the memories from that year. And so we've been doing it all along, and we just love to watch our family grow up through the years. And at one point or another, every one of our family members has told me that is their favorite time of the year, that's their favorite day of the year. And things kind of change from time to time, but to this day, New Year's Eve party is one of our favorites. Here's Andrew. I caught up with him in Boone, North Carolina, in the mountains today to talk about that tradition.
The first thing that comes to mind is the New Year's Eve tradition we have of every year creating a slideshow and then celebrating New Year's Eve together. It was always my favorite time of the year. It's always my favorite day of the year. And it's the tradition that's always stuck out the most to me of coming together as a family, watching a new slideshow every year, and reminiscing on the years past together. The second one that came to mind is music, of just different times of the year playing certain music, going to certain places playing certain music, and having all of us connect over that. I can send a song to Kelly or Josh or Steven or Maria, and it's like, oh, that's a spring song, or oh, that sounds like we're going to Cedar Point, or any of that. If there's one tradition I would take, it would be the music.
I did catch up with everyone on the phone today, but my recordings with Maria and Kelly were both a little wonky, so I'm going to tell you what they said. Kelly said something really profound. She said that music is a huge part of her life, and the traditions that we did with music are so important to her today because as she looks back, she has troubles with her memory and she can't remember all of her childhood memories. But the music, when she hears the music that we played during different seasons, during different events, during special occasions, we kind of had music for everything. Music today, those songs bring back those memories. They bring back the feelings of the memories. She has the feelings of what the memories felt like. And she says that's very powerful for her, that music makes that connection with her. She also said that she loves the structure that the traditions created as she was growing up. She said she could always count on, even though it was a new year and things had changed, that some things were the same, and that as she went into a season, she knew she would hear music that we'd listen to every spring for the last 10 years or every fall, or there was this structure that she said it made her feel safe, that home was a safe place. Maria talked about Papa Time being her favorite, and it's interesting because oftentimes for the first few minutes of Papa Time as we were driving on our way to the store, we would sit in silence, and then I would remember, oh, that's right, I need to get into their world, because it didn't come naturally to me. I know that sounds crazy for somebody who's been in the communication business for as long as I have, but it would not come naturally. And so I would have these questions that I would ask them. So, Maria, tell me about your day in school today. Oh, Papa, in art class, we did the most amazing thing. I'd get into the kids' world. And when we got to the store, they always knew when they got to the counter at the end, they could pick out a candy bar or a pop. It's funny because a couple years ago, I was in the local grocery store here with my son, Steven, and we got to the checkout, and he looked over at me, he goes, hey, is this Papa Time? And I was like, yeah, go ahead and pick out a candy bar. So the kids just loved Papa Time, and Maria said that was her favorite, that uninterrupted time for at least a half hour a week that I spent with her. The newest member of the Ray family is the godly woman who married our son Stephen last year, our new daughter Lauren. I caught up with her on the way home from work today, and I asked her this question.
Lauren, you are the newest member to the Ray family, being married in by Stephen, and I got to tell you, I'm curious to know what you think about jumping into a family that's so traditional. What have your thoughts been as you've got into this into Crazy Town?
I think one thing that's really cool is that there are so many traditions in the families, just because that's not necessarily something that I grew up with. Like, sure, we had traditions around holidays, but like I feel like there are made up Ray holidays so that there can be traditions, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I think probably the most unique one and the one that everybody really kind of like is drawn to is New Year's Eve, and how there's always kind of not only the sense of anticipation of a new year and the closing of the previous year, the current year, but the fact that everyone's together and we get to take a look at the current year, the past years, and then just kind of spend time thinking about what the next year will be. I think that's pretty cool how intentional that tradition is specifically. I think one thing too that the traditions of like the Ray family kind of instill is I feel like everybody is very intentional. Like I feel like that's a characteristic that like all of the kids, you and Carol, like everybody shares. And I think traditions kind of lend themselves to instilling that characteristic in all of you guys, which is really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very much. Well, I'm going to let you go. You're everybody's favorite nurse, and you're driving home from long hours at the hospital, and I'm going to let you go. Tell my son I said I love him.
I sure will. I'll give him a hug for you.
All right. Thank you so much. Love you, sweet girl.
Love you too.
Okay, bye.
All right, Penny. What are your favorite family traditions? Just tell me one. All right, that's what I thought it was. This is Brett Ree for the Tuesday Tiny Tips. I hope this was helpful. Have a great week.